You think potluck dinners were always about oxtail stew and potato salad? Think again. These church basements, community halls, and neighborhood gatherings served up some of the most inventive, economical, and surprisingly sophisticated dishes in American culinary history. They're real recipes that brought real neighbors together across America from the 1930s through the 1980s. Let's dig into 25 potluck classics you never knew were actually feeding entire communities, one covered dish at a time. Tuna Noodle Casserole. Born during the Great Depression and perfected through World War II rationing, this creamy wonder emerged when Campbell's pushed cream of mushroom soup as a cooking ingredient around 1934. Housewives stretched expensive proteins by binding canned tuna with egg noodles and that magical condensed soup. You'd boil noodles until tender, fold them into cream of mushroom soup thinned with milk, add flaked tuna and frozen peas, then top with crushed potato chips mixed with butter. Baked at 350 degrees, it emerged golden and bubbling. At church potlucks, this wasn't just budget cooking, it was social currency. Women judged each other's versions with keen eyes, noting whose had the crispiest topping or perfect noodle-to-tuna ratio. Bringing this casserole meant you understood the unspoken rules. Make enough to feed a crowd, use affordable ingredients, and create something that tasted like comfort itself. Today's gourmet versions with Gruyere owe everything to this working-class original. If you're enjoying this journey through food history, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss future videos. Oxtail Stew. Before oxtail became expensive restaurant fare, butchers practically gave it away because wealthy customers wouldn't touch it. During the 1930s and 1940s, working-class families, particularly in Southern and African American communities, turned these bony tail pieces into soul-satisfying stews. You'd brown oxtails in a Dutch oven, letting bone marrow render into liquid gold. Then came onions, carrots, and celery, sweated down before returning the oxtails with water, bay leaves, thyme, and black pepper. It simmered 4 to 6 hours until meat fell off bones and collagen turned the liquid silky. At potlucks, oxtail stew disappeared first because everyone knew the cook had invested serious time and love. The gelatin-rich broth coated your mouth, the meat shredded with just a fork. Serving it meant you'd risen before dawn, showing commitment that earned respect. That throwaway cut now costs $20 a pound, bitter irony for families who built traditions on what others wouldn't eat. Tamale Pie. This Southwest genius emerged in the 1910s to 1920s as Anglo settlers tried recreating Mexican tamales without the time-intensive corn husk wrapping. By the 1940s, it became a potluck staple showing beautiful collision of Mexican tradition with American convenience. Ground beef, just 1 pound, stretched with onions, bell peppers, garlic, canned tomatoes, corn, olives, chili powder, cumin, and oregano. The mixture simmered thick and rich while you prepared cornmeal topping. Yellow cornmeal whisked into boiling water with salt, butter, and sometimes egg. Meat went into a casserole, got topped with cornmeal, then baked until golden with filling bubbling around edges. At potlucks, tamale pie bridged communities. Anglo families learned to appreciate cumin, while Mexican-American families saw their influence celebrated, even if simplified. It was filling, flavorful, different enough to excite, but familiar enough not to scare conservative palates. Modern Tex-Mex bowls have nothing on this fusion original. Johnny Marzetti. Born in Teresa Marzetti's Columbus, Ohio restaurant kitchen during the 1920s as a way to use leftover pasta and meat sauce, this Midwest masterpiece escaped into wild by the 1940s to 1950s. You'd cook elbow macaroni until barely tender, brown ground beef with onions and green peppers, then mix everything with canned tomato sauce, sometimes adding mushrooms or celery. The signature move, layering pasta and meat with sharp cheddar cheese, lots of it, between layers and on top. Baked at 350 degrees until cheese melted into golden pools and edges crisped. Johnny Marzetti occupied special Midwest potluck hierarchy. It was substantial enough for a main dish, familiar enough not to intimidate picky eaters, cheap enough that struggling families could bring it without shame. School cafeterias served it by hundreds. Church potlucks featured multiple versions, each family swearing theirs was authentic. Today, Ohio claims it as regional heritage, one of few casseroles achieving true geographical identity. King Ranch Chicken. Despite the name suggesting connection to famous South Texas cattle empire, this casserole probably has no actual ranch relationship. It emerged in the 1950s Texas cookbooks, likely created by a clever cook wanting something impressive sounding for potlucks. The name alone gave it status. You'd shred rotisserie chicken, sauté onions and bell peppers, then add cream of mushroom soup, cream of chicken soup, and rotel tomatoes with green chilies. That Tex-Mex flavor bomb providing signature kick. Torn corn tortillas layered in casserole with chicken, sauce, and massive amounts of shredded cheddar. Tortillas softened while baking, creating lasagna-like layers while cheese melted into gooey strings. At potlucks, King Ranch Chicken made people lean in and ask for recipes. The combination of creamy, spicy, cheesy, and substantial hit every comfort note. It could sit in warm ovens for hours without drying out, perfect for buffet service. Today's versions add avocado or cilantro, but they're gilding an already perfect lily. Swiss steak. The name came from Swissing fabric, using rollers to soften tough material. Similarly, Swiss steak involved pounding tough round steak with meat mallets, breaking down muscle fibers before slow cooking into submission. This technique transformed cheapest beef cuts into something special for Depression and post-war potlucks. You'd pound round steak portions with flour, salt, and pepper until tenderized and flour worked into surface. Brown each piece creating a crust, then nestle in roasting pan with sliced onions, canned tomatoes, Worcestershire sauce, maybe carrots or celery. Covered tightly, it baked at 325 degrees for 2 to 3 hours, meat slowly breaking down in tomato-based braising liquid until fork tender. For potlucks, Swiss steak was a power move announcing your family could afford beef, even cheapest cuts, and had time and skill to cook properly. Women transported it hot in covered roasting pans, tomato gravy sloshing around tender meat. Modern slow cookers simplified the process, but never captured original oven-braised depth. Chicken a la King. Created at either Bellevue Hotel in Philadelphia or Delmonico's in New York during early 1900s, this elegant chicken and broccoli casserole was originally sophisticated luncheon fare. By 1950s to 1960s, it escaped into community cookbooks, simplified for home kitchens but retaining enough sophistication to feel special. You'd make classic roux with butter and flour, gradually add milk and chicken broth while whisking until thick and silky. Into this went diced cooked chicken, sautéed mushrooms, diced pimentos for red color pop, sometimes peas or bell peppers, seasoned with salt, white pepper, maybe sherry if bold. Served over toast points, puff pastry shells, rice or biscuits. At potlucks, chicken a la King was made by ambitious cooks unintimidated by roux making. The pimentos were crucial. Those red squares announced this wasn't just creamed chicken, it was something special. It stayed hot in chafing dishes, cream sauce never breaking if made correctly. Today it's mostly frozen dinners, sad fate for something once representing homemade elegance. Salmon Loaf. During World War II, when meat was rationed but canned salmon remained available, creative cooks adapted meatloaf format for fish. Pacific Northwest and New England made versions for years, but it spread nationwide during wartime, continuing as budget-friendly potluck option through the 1960s. You drain 2 cans of salmon, remove skin and bones if fancy, or mash them in for calcium and flavor. Mix with breadcrumbs, beaten eggs, minced onion, milk splash, sometimes lemon zest or dill. Pack into loaf pan, brush top with melted butter. Bake at 350 degrees for 45 minutes until set and lightly browned. Dill cream sauce or lemon butter often accompanied it. At potlucks, salmon loaf was divisive. Fish-loving families fought over it, while others side-eyed it suspiciously. Coastal communities served it with pride. Inland areas treated it as exotic or economical depending on perspective. Sliced and served with lemon wedges, it looked elegant despite humble canned origins. Stuffed cabbage rolls. These labor-intensive bundles arrived with Eastern European immigrants, Polish, Ukrainian, Russian, Hungarian, in late 1800s, early 1900s. Each culture had different names, but same loving process, wrapping seasoned meat and rice in tender cabbage leaves. By mid-century, they became beloved potluck contributions in communities with Eastern European heritage. You'd blanch whole cabbage in boiling water, peeling off softening leaves, cutting out tough ribs. Filling combined ground beef or pork with cooked rice, minced onion, garlic, salt, pepper, sometimes egg. Each leaf got filling spooned near stem end, sides folded in, rolled into neat packages. Nestled seam down in roasting pan, covered with tomato juice or crushed tomatoes mixed with sugar. Then baked low and slow for 2 to 3 hours until cabbage melted into tenderness. At potlucks, stuffed cabbage rolls were statements announcing someone still made food the old way. They arrived in distinctive generational pans. Sweet and sour tomato sauce, tender cabbage, savory filling, every bite connected to old-world traditions. Shepherd's pie. Originally created in England and Ireland using Sunday's leftover roasted lamb, shepherd's pie arrived with immigrants and adapted to American ingredients. By mid-20th century, it became potluck staple, efficiently combining protein, vegetables, and carbohydrates in one transportable dish. You'd brown ground lamb or beef with diced onions and carrots, seasoning with salt, pepper, maybe thyme. Add peas, corn, or green beans. Sprinkle flour over meat to thicken. Add beef broth, creating rich gravy. Mixture went into casserole, topped with mashed potatoes, spread smooth or piped decoratively. Brush of melted butter encouraged browning. Baked at 400 degrees until filling bubbled around edges and potato topping turned golden with crispy peaks. At potlucks, shepherd's pie was reliable workhorse, satisfying, familiar, crowd-pleasing without being flashy. It cut into neat squares, held shape on plates, tasted equally good hot or lukewarm. Kids loved it because it was basically meat, potatoes, and vegetables in most acceptable forms. No-peak chicken. This brilliantly simple 1960s dish proved certain ingredient combinations could self-regulate in ovens without babysitting. The cardinal rule: once in the oven, never lift that lid. Steam and moisture created self-contained cooking environment, producing impossibly tender chicken and perfect rice. You'd spread uncooked long-grain rice in greased casserole. Over this went cream of mushroom soup, cream of celery soup, combined liquids plus additional water or broth. Stir this soupy mixture that looked completely wrong. Nestled chicken pieces on top, skin side up if applicable. Sprinkle dry onion soup mix over everything. Cover tightly with foil and lid. Bake at 325 degrees for 2.5 hours. No peeking. At potlucks, no-peak chicken drew comments like, "I can't believe how easy this is," when recipes were shared. Chicken fell off bone. Rice absorbed creamy, oniony sauce. Whole thing had homey, comforting quality, making people return for seconds. Modern Instant Pots tried replacing it, but underestimated sealed oven environment magic. Sauerkraut Casserole. In German-rooted communities, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin, parts of Texas, sauerkraut wasn't just condiment, but staple appearing in everything. This emerged mid-20th century as potlucks became adventurous, cooks competing to bring something distinctive. You'd drain and rinse sauerkraut to mellow sharpness. Mix with browned ground beef or pork sausage, diced onions, sometimes grated apple for sweetness. Some versions added cooked egg noodles for stretching. Mixture layered in casserole with sour cream stirred through, creating creamy, tangy sauce. Top got breadcrumbs or crushed Ritz crackers mixed with melted butter. Baked at 350 degrees for 40 minutes, emerging bubbling and golden. Sauerkraut mellowed by cooking, but still providing characteristic zing. At potlucks, this created two camps: those who made beelines for it, eyes lighting up, and those giving it wide berth. For German-American families, bringing it honored heritage and kept old foodways alive. That distinctive fermented cabbage aroma was either intoxicating or off-putting, depending on upbringing. Amish six-layer dinner. This humble casserole emerged from Amish and Mennonite communities in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, where simple, hearty food stretching ingredients was necessity and tradition. The 6 layers referred to strategic ingredient stacking that cooked together harmoniously. You'd layer thinly sliced raw potatoes covering casserole bottom, then sliced onions, scattered uncooked rice, ground beef broken into small pieces, sliced or diced tomatoes, fresh or canned, and finally topped with tomato soup, sometimes thinned with water. Covered tightly, it baked at 350 degrees for 2 hours, starches absorbing liquid while meat cooked through. Chicken Divan. Created at Divan Parisienne restaurant in New York City's Chatham Hotel in early 1900s, this elegant chicken and broccoli casserole was originally sophisticated luncheon fare. By 1950s, recipes escaped into community cookbooks and women's magazines, simplified for home kitchens, but retaining enough sophistication to feel special. You'd steam broccoli until just tender but bright green. Arrange in buttered casserole. Layer sliced cooked chicken breast over broccoli. The magic sauce: cream of chicken soup, mayonnaise, sour cream, lemon juice, and curry powder whisked smooth. Pour over chicken and broccoli, top with shredded cheddar and breadcrumbs. Some added hollandaise layer or parmesan sprinkle. Baked at 350 degrees until bubbly and golden. At Potluck's, chicken divan occupied elevated position. Bright green broccoli visible through creamy sauce looked intentional and elegant. Curry powder added exotic note without being threatening. It was fancy enough showing effort, but familiar enough not intimidating conservative eaters. Today's versions add more curry than originals ever would, reflecting increased bold flavor tolerance. Beef Stroganoff Casserole. Original beef stroganoff was created in 19th century Russia for wealthy Stroganoff family. When it reached America in the 1940s to 1950s, it became sophisticated dinner party fare. Practical home cooks soon realized mixing everything together and baking as casserole rather than stovetop cooking turned it into perfect potluck contribution. You'd brown ground beef or cubed stew meat with sliced mushrooms and diced onions until deeply colored. Cook egg noodles separately, usually wide ones holding rich sauce. Toss cooked pasta with beef mixture. Combine with sour cream, cream of mushroom soup, beef broth, and plenty of black pepper. Some added Worcestershire or cooking sherry for depth. Into casserole dish, topped with more sour cream or breadcrumbs, baked until heated through and slightly browned. At Potluck's, beef stroganoff casserole made people ask if any remained when buffet line ended. Tender beef, silky egg noodles, mushrooms, tangy sour cream sauce was irresistible. It represented American genius, taking fancy European dishes and making them accessible to regular families with regular budgets. Porcupine Meatballs. These Depression-era meatballs got their memorable name from rice grains poking out after cooking, resembling porcupine quills. By mixing uncooked rice directly into ground meat, home cooks stretched expensive protein while adding substance and texture. You'd mix ground beef with uncooked rice, minced onion, salt, pepper, sometimes beaten egg, helping everything hold together. Form into golf ball-sized meatballs, rice grains clearly visible outside. Arrange in deep skillet or casserole, cover with tomato sauce, often Campbell's tomato soup thinned with water. Cover and simmer on stovetop or bake in oven for an hour. During cooking, rice absorbed liquid and cooked inside and on meatball surfaces, creating characteristic porcupine appearance while making meatballs tender and sauce thick. At Potluck's, these were crowd pleasers because they were fun, filling, and flavorful. Kids loved the name and toothpick service style. Adults appreciated how far ground beef stretched when rice extended. They worked equally well as appetizers or over mashed potatoes as main course. Creamed chicken on biscuits. This dish had Southern cooking roots but became nationwide popular mid-20th century as a way transforming leftover chicken into something substantial and special. You'd make classic roux with butter and flour cooked until losing raw taste, then gradually add whole milk and chicken broth, whisking constantly until sauce thickened, coating spoon back. Stir in diced cooked chicken with sautéed celery, maybe peas or carrots for color, seasoning with salt, white pepper, pinch of nutmeg if you knew the secret. Sauce couldn't be too thick or thin, needed to flow over and soak into biscuits without making them soggy. Biscuits were ideally homemade burdensnilk ones split open while hot, fluffy interiors ready absorbing creamy sauce. At potlucks, this usually came in 2 containers, chicken mixture staying warm, another with biscuits. Assembly happened on each plate, ensuring biscuits stayed relatively intact. This was what grandmothers made, representing old-fashioned cooking skills and nurturing love. Today's restaurants charge $15 for this, calling it elevated comfort food, while using grandma's exact recipe. Hotdish. In Minnesota, Wisconsin, and North Dakota parts, Hotdish isn't just regional casserole terminology. It's cultural institution with specific characteristics. Must contain starch, protein, canned or frozen vegetable, and canned soup binder, all combined and baked. The classic tater tot hot dish started with browned ground beef mixed with canned green beans and cream of mushroom soup in casserole bottom. Top got completely covered with frozen tater tots arranged in neat rows. Into 350-degree oven for an hour until tots turned golden brown crispy and filling bubbled up around edges. Some families topped it with shredded cheddar for last 10 minutes. Result was pure comfort, crispy tots giving way to creamy, savory filling underneath. At potlucks, hot dish was serious business. Families had signature versions. Heated debates erupted over whether corn was acceptable green bean substitute or whether adding cheese made it too fancy. Minnesota embraces hot dish as cultural identity, even hosting annual competitions, drawing hundreds of entries, proving the format's endless variation. Pineapple chicken bake. When canned pineapple became widely available post-war, American home cooks added it to everything. Pineapple chicken bake emerged in the 1960s as part of exotic food trend, when cooks wanted something tropical and different without requiring unfamiliar ingredients or techniques. You'd arrange chicken pieces in baking dish, season with salt and pepper. Sauce made from canned pineapple chunks with juice, brown sugar, soy sauce, sometimes ketchup or barbecue sauce, got mixed and poured over chicken. Some versions added sliced bell peppers and onions for color and substance. Baked at 350 degrees for an hour, sauce reducing and caramelizing, pineapple chunks becoming tender and golden-edged. Near end, some added cashews or slivered almonds for crunch and extra exotic factor. At potlucks, pineapple chicken bake announced itself with distinctive sweet aroma. It looked vibrant and different, with glistening golden pineapple chunks. For suburban families who'd never traveled to Hawaii, this was their tropical taste. Today's poke bowl and teriyaki obsessions owe something to this sweet and savory pioneer. Turkey Tetrazzini. Named after Italian opera singer Luisa Tetrazzini, this dish was created in early 20th century San Francisco, probably at Palace Hotel. But it became American staple not through fancy restaurants, but through post-Thanksgiving potlucks and leftover management. You'd cook spaghetti until al dente, drain and set aside. Make rich cream sauce by melting butter, whisking in flour, then gradually adding chicken or turkey broth and heavy cream, stirring constantly until thick and silky. Sauté sliced mushrooms separately in butter until golden. Everything came together. Pasta, diced leftover turkey, mushrooms, luxurious cream sauce, all mixed with sherry if you had it, and plenty of grated Parmesan cheese. Into buttered casserole, topped with more Parmesan and breadcrumbs, baked until bubbly and golden. At Potluck's, turkey Tetrazzini was sophisticated comfort food. Sherry added complexity without being obvious. Mushrooms provided earthiness. Cream sauce tied everything together. It proved humblest leftovers could create something elegant enough for company. Women competed, making creamiest version with best mushroom to turkey ratio and crispiest breadcrumb topping. Chili con carne bake. Chili con carne had been simmering in Texas since the 1800s, but baked casserole version emerged mid-century when home cooks realized they could stretch chili pot further by adding cornbread topping or layering with tortilla chips and cheese. You'd make classic Texas chili: ground beef browned with onions, garlic, plenty of chili powder, cumin, and oregano. Add canned tomatoes and kidney beans, though purists argue beans have no place in real Texas chili. Simmer until thick and rich, spices blooming and mellowing. For casserole version, spread chili in baking dish. Top with corn chips or crushed tortilla chips. Layer, bury under mountain of shredded cheddar and Monterey Jack. Into 350-degree oven until cheese melted into gooey perfection and chips softened slightly while maintaining some crunch. At Potluck's, chili con carne bake disappeared fast. Combination of spicy meat, melted cheese, and crunchy chips hit every texture and flavor note. Served with sour cream, chopped onions, and jalapenos on side for customization. Today's versions add quinoa or sweet potatoes, overthinking something already perfect in Tex-Mex simplicity. Ground beef and potato bake. This humble dish had no fancy name, no celebrity chef creator, no restaurant pedigree. It emerged from 1930s necessity when families needed stretching 1 pound of ground beef across dinner for 6 or 8 people. You'd slice potatoes thin, usually 4 or 5 large russets, layer half in greased casserole. Spread browned ground beef mixed with diced onions and seasoned simply with salt and pepper. Some cooks added cream of mushroom soup thinned with milk. Others just dotted layer with butter. Remaining potato slices went on top in overlapping rows. More butter, salt, pepper, maybe paprika sprinkle for color. Covered tightly, baked at 350 degrees for an hour and a half until potatoes were fork tender and meat cooked through. At Potluck's, this was rarely most exciting table option, but often most appreciated. Older generations recognized it as youth food, while younger families made it because ground beef and potatoes were still cheapest ways feeding crowds. It cut into neat squares, held shape, tasted like home. Today's loaded potato casseroles with bacon and sour cream are fancy cousins, but lost humble original integrity. Macaroni and cheese bake. Macaroni and cheese has been part of American cooking since Thomas Jefferson encountered it in France. But baked casserole version with crispy breadcrumb top became popular mid-20th century as more substantial, shareable alternative to stovetop mac and cheese. You'd cook elbow macaroni just until al dente, knowing it would continue cooking in oven. Make proper cheese sauce, butter melted, flour whisked in making roux, then milk added gradually while stirring constantly, preventing lumps. Once thick and smooth, several cups shredded sharp cheddar got stirred in until melted. Some added pinch of dry mustard or cayenne, enhancing cheese flavor. Fold cooked pasta into sauce. Everything went into buttered casserole. Top got covered with buttered breadcrumbs, sometimes mixed with more grated cheese. Into 350-degree oven for 30 minutes until bubbly and golden topped. At Potluck's, homemade macaroni and cheese bake earned respect because everyone knew difference from boxed versions. Smooth, creamy texture, sharp cheese flavor, crispy top, these elements announced someone invested time and care. Often first dish emptying with people sheepishly returning for seconds. Baked ziti. This Italian-American classic emerged from immigrant communities in early 20th century, adapting traditional Italian pasta al forno to American ingredients and appetites. You'd cook ziti pasta until just barely tender, then drain. Make or heat tomato sauce, ideally homemade with garlic, onions, and herbs, but jarred sauce worked for busy cooks. Mix sauce with cooked ziti along with ricotta cheese, creating creamy pockets throughout. Half this mixture went into deep casserole, topped with fresh mozzarella slices and generous Parmesan sprinkle. Remaining pasta mixture on top, followed by more mozzarella and Parmesan. Some added browned Italian sausage or meatballs, making it heartier. Covered with foil, baked at 375 degrees for 30 minutes, then uncovered for another 10, letting cheese brown and bubble. At Potlucks, baked ziti announced Italian heritage with pride. Stretchy mozzarella, rich tomato sauce, tender pasta. It was familiar comfort food that also felt special and celebratory. Italian grandmothers watched with eagle eyes, seeing whose version got eaten first, silently judging cheese quality and sauce seasoning. Today, it remains a potluck favorite, embraced by each new generation. Tuna Twist Casserole, the ultimate 70s weeknight dinner solution, graced millions of American tables with its creamy, satisfying presence. Tuna Twist Casserole combined canned tuna, spiral pasta, cream of mushroom soup, and a crispy potato chip topping that created the perfect textural balance. Moms across the country loved how affordable and filling it was, while kids couldn't resist the crunchy, salty topping. The genius touch that made this version special was the addition of frozen peas and diced pimentos, adding bright pops of color to the creamy base. Many families personalized their version with additions like diced celery for crunch or a dash of hot sauce for kick. The casserole represented everything great about 70s cooking: convenience, creativity, and comfort, all in one dish. This retro classic could feed a family of 6 for just a few dollars, making it the MVP of budget-friendly meals that still managed to feel special. Waikiki Meatballs. The tiki craze of the 60s extended its influence into 70s home cooking with dishes like Waikiki meatballs. These saucy spheres combined ground beef with crushed saltine crackers, eggs, and minced onions, formed into meatballs and browned, before being simmered in a sweet-sour sauce starring pineapple chunks, green bell pepper, and brown sugar. The exotic-sounding dish gave suburban families a taste of tropical flavors without leaving home. The vibrant sauce, often thickened with cornstarch to a glossy finish, created a gravy that paired perfectly with white rice. Some versions included maraschino cherries for extra color and sweetness. The dish perfectly captured the 70s fascination with Polynesian-inspired cuisine that had been popularized by restaurants like Trader Vic's. Home cooks appreciated that the dish could be prepared ahead and reheated, making it perfect for busy weeknights or weekend dinner parties. The combination of familiar meatballs with exotic sauce ingredients represented how American cuisine was expanding its flavor profiles during this decade, incorporating international influences while maintaining familiar formats. Deviled ham logs. The cocktail party circuit of the 70s wouldn't have been complete without deviled ham logs making an appearance on at least one glass serving tray. These savory, cylindrical appetizers combined canned deviled ham, cream cheese, and seasonings into a mixture that was shaped into logs and rolled in chopped nuts, herbs, or crushed potato chips. The logs were then chilled until firm and sliced to reveal perfect rounds with a crunchy exterior and creamy interior. They paired perfectly with the era's popular cocktails like Harvey Wallbangers and Tequila Sunrises. Hostesses loved that the logs could be made days ahead and kept ready in the refrigerator for unexpected guests. The combination of smoky ham flavor with rich cream cheese created an addictive umami taste that kept party guests coming back for just one more. Some creative variations included adding crushed pineapple for sweetness or horseradish for extra kick. These perfectly portioned bites represented the 70s obsession with convenient entertaining that still managed to look elegant. Porcupine Meatballs. These whimsical meatballs earned their name from the way uncooked rice mixed into the meat mixture absorbed liquid during cooking, then poked out like little quills. Porcupine meatballs combined ground beef, uncooked rice, eggs, and seasonings, then simmered them in tomato sauce until the rice was tender. The genius was in the rice serving dual purposes, as both a filler to stretch expensive ground beef and as the starch component of the meal. The tomato sauce became infused with the flavors of the meat as it cooked, creating a rich, satisfying gravy, perfect for spooning over the finished dish. Moms appreciated that this one-pot meal required minimal cleanup and could simmer unattended while they helped kids with homework. Regional variations included adding green peppers to the sauce or incorporating oatmeal alongside the rice in the meat mixture. Some families served them with a dollop of sour cream on top. This economical filling meal represented the creative problem-solving of 70s home cooks who needed to feed hungry families on tight budgets while still making dinner feel special. Carrot Raisin Salad. This sweet and crunchy side dish brought color and nutrition to countless dinner tables and potluck gatherings throughout the decade. Carrot Raisin Salad combined freshly grated carrots with plump raisins, dressed with a sweet mayonnaise dressing that often included a touch of pineapple juice for extra flavor. The contrast between the crisp carrots and chewy raisins created a textural experience that appealed to both children and adults. Home cooks appreciated that the salad could be prepared hours ahead and would only improve as the flavors melded in the refrigerator. Some variations included adding crushed pineapple, chopped walnuts, or a sprinkle of coconut for extra tropical flair. The bright orange color made it a popular choice for holiday meals, adding vibrant color to plates dominated by beige and brown foods. This sweet vegetable salad reflected the 70s approach to getting children to eat vegetables by making them taste like dessert. Despite its simple ingredients, the combination created a flavor profile that became deeply nostalgic for anyone who grew up during this era. Cheese fondue. The ultimate 70s social dining experience, cheese fondue brought family and friends together around a communal pot of melted Swiss and Gruyere cheeses. This interactive meal became the centerpiece of countless dinner parties after Americans discovered the Swiss tradition. The pot of bubbling cheese was seasoned with garlic, white wine, and kirsch liqueur, creating a luxurious dipping sauce for cubes of crusty bread. The communal aspect made dinner time an event rather than just a meal. Special long-handled fondue forks with colored tips helped diners keep track of their bread cubes as they dipped into the shared pot. Party tradition held that if someone dropped their bread into the cheese, they owed the table a kiss or had to buy the next round of drinks. Beyond the basic recipe, adventurous hosts offered additional dippers like boiled potato cubes, apple slices, or even cubed ham. The popularity of cheese fondue spawned countless fondue cookbooks and led to chocolate and oil fondue variations. The dish represented the 70s emphasis on casual entertaining that encouraged conversation and connection. Hamburger boats. Dinner became an adventure with hamburger boats, turning ordinary ground beef into a playful meal that delighted kids and adults alike. Hollowed-out hamburger bun boats were toasted until golden, then filled with a savory mixture of browned ground beef, diced onions, and the all-important canned tomato soup that gave the filling its signature flavor. The boats were topped with melted American cheese slices that created a gooey treasure under which the flavorful meat mixture waited. Moms often snuck chopped vegetables like bell peppers into the filling, making it a complete meal disguised as a fun food experience. The genius of hamburger boats was in their customization. Each family member could dress their boat with different toppings, like sliced olives, pickle chips, or crushed potato chips. This affordable meal stretched a pound of ground beef to feed a family of 4, providing a welcome break from standard hamburgers while using many of the same ingredients families already had on hand.